What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Tarian, and welcome to Skin It or Skip It, the show where I tell you whether a skin is worth your hard-earned money and you should buy it, or whether you should keep your money and use it to pay for the next luck skin. Skin It or Skip It is based upon the skin's visual effects, sound effects, how good it feels to use, and is it worth buying over the other skins that a champion has. On today's first episode, we have the new additions to the Shan Scrolls line, as well as Crystal Motus Leona. Before we begin, if you like this type of content, go hit that subscribe button down below so you can be updated when any of my new content comes out. Alright, cool. Let's start out with Shan Scrolls Lilia, which is the skin that I am the most excited for, seeing as though I'm a Lilia main. Overall, the skin's visual effects are top tier, and I love this small cloud effect that the passive has, as well as the passive just feeling a lot more noticeable than it does in other skins. In addition, all of the light blue effects with pink accents make the skin just a delight and makes everything that you do a lot more noticeable, which is just a wonderful feel to it when you're playing with it. The lack of a model change when you fully stack your Q passive does take away a few points from it, but the pink outline you get while it full stacks does help with visual clarity. The E being this wonderful little ball of yellow is honestly super nice, and the overall visuals of this skin are just amazing and fit in quite well with the skin line. It's also one of the few skins that I would say just doesn't have any bad chromas to it, and strangely enough, the skin makes Lilia feel like she has a lot more presence on your screen. The first time I tested this skin out, it just felt so much bigger than in base or in either of her two other skins, and it felt nice to just feel big on this champion due to her usual model being so compact and tiny, along with the weight of her new visual and sound effects really selling this idea of hitting harder that we don't get in her other skins. Overall, I'd rate this skin a solid 9 out of 10. Probably the best Lilia skin we have, and only really loses a point due to the lack of a model change during full Q stacks. Definitely skin it. Bard skins are always great, and Shan Scrolls is not an exception. Shan Scrolls Bard is without a doubt the best skin that we're getting out of this batch of skins, and not only does Bard look amazing with great visual and sound effects for everything that he does, but I love his meeps and his W most of all. The small carrot guys for both his meeps and just bathing in a nice bowl of soup for his W add a nice layer of cuteness to the skin, while the sun-based orb that he has as for his Q, as well as traveling through his E, are just wonderful accents to the clouds that the skin has around them. In addition, the smoke that comes off of him during his passive while he collects his chimes, and this new part they added to his back really makes the skin feel like they put a lot of effort into its design and a lot of effort into the small details that people will appreciate. I can't really say much else besides that if I was a support player, even if I didn't play Bard, I'd definitely get this skin for myself because it's just that nice. Definitely a solid 9.5 out of 10 skin, and only really misses the mark because I wish that Riot would have bumped this up to a legendary skin and made it even better than it is now with new animations that might fit the skin line a little bit more. Definitely skin it. Shan Scrolls Kogmaw feels to me like one of those cases of it's not bad, but it's also not good. The water visual and sound effects on the skin are fine, but that's all they are. Fine. The way that Kogmaw lights up during his W is definitely an amazing indicator compared to the other skins that he's using his W, but it also feels very neon, deep sea, and strangely placed in the skin line, which definitely has a more of an emphasis on the sky and mountains than the sea. Overall, it feels like Riot really wanted a sea monster Kogmaw, but didn't know where to put him, and when the best visual effect on a Kogmaw skin comes from his ultimate, it's not really saying a lot when his ult isn't really what you want to be the nicest part of his skin. It really does seem like they could have done a lot more with the skin if they put it into a different deep sea style skin line, but they put it into Shan Scrolls instead, so it kind of just falls flat compared to not only the other skins we've already seen, but also compared to some of Kogmaw's other skins in my opinion. Overall, I'd give the skin a very gracious 5 out of 10. Like I said, it's not bad, but it's definitely not good either. Definitely skip it. In complete contrast to the last one, Shan Scrolls Tahm Kenges is how I think they really wanted Kogmaw's skin to turn out, but just didn't put enough resources into doing it properly. Tahm's skin is great in its visual and sound effects. The W was super nice to see, the E, healing water effect, and the bubble are great, and if you look closely enough, you see that his tongue is forked and more like a serpent, which I think is great attention to detail. The switching of his normal top hat for this little sun on top of his head really makes him feel like he's part of the thematic, and I love this small little water cape that they gave him, as well as just as a nice touch now that he doesn't have his big overbearing trench coat. Even though the skin does feel a bit redundant with it being a sea monster based skin on a sea monster-based champion, it differentiates itself enough by really bringing itself into the Shan Scrolls skin line and going as far as it could with just that idea that it doesn't really feel like it overlaps with base Tahm that much. I give the skin a solid 7 out of 10, as I wish they did go a different direction than Sea Monster, and his Q doesn't feel great in its visual compared to the other abilities. However, even as someone who would rather spend his money on Arcana Tahm Kench, for what it's worth, I think that Shanghai Scrolls is still a wonderful one to use. Definitely skin it. We're gonna do the Leona skin a bit out of order, as I'm going to give the rating first, and it's a solid 10 out of 10 skin, but I'd definitely skip it. The reason for this is that the skin's visuals are just immaculate. The sound effects, even down to the proccing of her passive, are just great, and even the modulation they put on her voice is such a nice touch. But there's a big problem, and that's just that Leona's base model is really old. I think the best way I can sum it up is by showing her recall animation, where you have such a great ending and then boom, you're just standing there in the base like you didn't have that giant build-up. Due to Leona's model being so old, the clunkiness doesn't end there and extends even to her auto attacks as well as how she moves with her shield up. It really feels like they wanted to give Leona another legendary skin, but realized that it might upset people if she was the first champion with 4 of them. I mean, look at her ultimate, look how clean this is. This skin is so great that it just sucks so much that it's not worth to get unless you're a Leona main. It also doesn't help that this is a mythic skin, meaning you have to buy it with mythic essence, meaning it's overall much more expensive, and I don't even think it's close to being worth the price. For those reasons, even though the skin looks nice in its abilities, I have to say that you should skip it. And with that, we're done with the new Shanghai Scroll skins and Crystal Most Leona. Thank you all so much for watching. Go down in the comment section below and tell me whether you disagree or agree with what I was saying, as well as which skins that you're planning to buy, if any of these ones that are coming out. I'm definitely going to be getting the Lilia one. And while you're down there, go hit that subscribe button to be notified anytime any of my new content comes out, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye!